I believe we are live, all the way live.
The stream be live.
Hello, everybody. Did you expect us today? Hello.
Oh, man.
I know. We
have had, there have been just a variety of scheduling conflicts in life.
Yes.
Chalk it up to, hot dog summer.
It is. It definitely is a hot dog. Oh gosh, it's so hot. It's so hot everywhere too. East Coast is like going through some major
they're really
heat
going through
wave. Like it's bad.
It's actually not that. So right now, so says my Apple Watch. It's 78 degrees, and that's the high today. So it's only going to come down from here. That is not crazy. That's not crazy. But in my house, Eileen, I'm on the top floor. I'm in a relatively hot part of the city. Just, there's a lot of concrete. There's a lot of sun.
Yeah.
And when I was doing DTNS Live earlier, about halfway through the show, I was like, "Ooh, I gotta move the fan closer to me."
Oh,
and everyone's like, is it crazy hot there? I'm like, actually, no. It could be 95 right now, and that would be really bad.
Right.
It just felt hot.
Yeah, because you're not getting as much cool air, right? Above, but anyway.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Anybody see us? Anybody there? I don't know. Seems like there's 7 people. Hello, say hello if you're there.
Hey, 7 people. Maybe 7 the dog is one of those people. Hello, world.
Oh gosh.
I'm posting.
Yeah, 7 the dog. So on Tuesday, Thursdays, he goes out on a big dog walking pack. On Tuesday, the pack went to Erewhon. Not to go to Erewhon, but like in a location where there was an Erewhon, and the picture was taken. Apparently, they were like, there was like 10 dogs, right? And they were like the life of the party, and everybody's like, "Woo, what is this? Big dog walking pack." I think my dog walker was looking for more business, and went to Erewhon. But I got this picture, and it was like they're at Erewhon. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, 7! I've never taken you to Erewhon."
Yeah,
you are so bougie.
He's like, well, I got a $9 smoothie.
Exactly. I was like, when did you become so bougie, my friend? So I don't know. I didn't get to introduce him to Erewhon. My dog walker did. The outdoor area patio anyway.
Otis has maybe we've walked past an Erewhon at some point, but no. He used to go to Lassen's. I don't know if you're familiar with Lassen's.
Not really. What is it?
It's like a organic grocery store, sort of like a Sprouts.
Yeah.
There used to be one in Echo Park, really close to where we lived.
Okay.
And I would, he wasn't allowed inside, so I'd tie him up outside. But it was like the shopping center was like an Erewhon and a Walgreens and a couple other things, and there were a lot of taco trucks sort of around the parking lot. So there just were a lot of people there.
Okay.
And I think this is where he started to get his skateboard fixation. Because and the grocery store, I was about to say Erewhon, Lassen's, the grocery store, they had a security guard, who would kind of just stand, at the front door and just kind of make sure that nothing weird was happening. And he liked Otis. So like I would tie up Otis and he'd be like, "I'll watch him."
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm only going to be in here for like 5-10 minutes. But I would sometimes hear like a dog barking. And at one point I was like, God, can't be Otis because he doesn't really bark. And at one point, like the security guard like finds me in the grocery store. Like I'm just like looking at, different pastas or, whatever I'm doing. And he's like, Otis does not seem happy. And I was like, oh my God. All right.
Oh, no.
And we run outside and it's like a bunch of kids doing like skateboard tricks in the parking lot. And Otis is just losing his mind.
Yeah.
Because he's
like,
tied up too.
Yeah.
And I'm not there, and I'm like, oh God. It turned into this whole thing. Like every time I would come, the security guard would be like, we'll make sure that there's no skateboarders.
Oh, that's so nice.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's very. It was
sweet.
It was very sweet. Yeah, he is just. He didn't used to hate skateboards. He like developed an allergy over time.
Yeah.
You know,
It's surprising
like,
over
he used
time
to just
what
be like,
they-
"Oh, cool, skateboard," and now he's like,
Yeah.
"Rah, skateboard, so scary." Which he doesn't care about scooters. He doesn't care about
Okay.
motorcycles, bicycles, nothing. It's
Hmm.
just skateboards.
It's surprising what they, become, what changes, as they get older, like what happened? Why did you, like this story, maybe it was too many skateboarders. It was like that I can't handle too much, that noise. Maybe he's worried that there's going to be a lot more, even if he sees one. But it's just interesting how they like develop something over time, and you're like, wait, when did this happen? Why did you start hating, my text message notifications? Like that happened with my past dogs. I don't know. 7, we'll see. He's becoming real territorial. Like he did not like pest control. Pest control came and he just lost it today. And I was like, where, like our gardener has been here and he doesn't like that. So we've met even face to face, but when he can't be there, he didn't like it. But the pest control, like, who are these smells? What is happening?
Well, and I think also it's like we all think like it's such a minor detail that like Tom isn't here. But like for him, maybe it's like I have to be, I have to protect mom.
Yeah.
There's,
that might be it.
That's the whole thing with Otis is like he's not he's not he just isn't a aggressive dog at all.
Yeah.
If anything, he's very standoffish with other dogs. Like he'll be like sniff, sniff, and then I don't care. Even at the dog park, it's like he's not really playing with anybody.
Yeah.
He just wants to like chase the ball. And then he'll sort of tolerate a dog like saying hi to him and be like, I don't like it. But yeah, like they're, every so often I'm like, I remember saying to my mom at one point, if somebody were to rob me, which I mean, knock on wood, that will never happen. I'm like, I think Otis would just like invite them in for tea. And she was like, I don't know. I think he might know. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let's hope that never happens. But,
Exactly. Anyway, yeah, our dogs. All right, shall we
Let's do
get a move
this.
on? All right,
Let's
why
do
don't
it.
you, whenever you count me down, I will throw the open.
Sounds good. All right, let's do this. Episode 62 in at 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome back to Apple Vision Show, the show that is all things Apple. What's present, what's future, and what we might want in the distant future. I am Sarah Lane. I had to think about that for a second, but I'm joined by
Eileen Rivera. Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
Welcome to
Eileen.
another week. I will apologize now if I have to pause because 7 might be coming home. And I heard he wasn't a exemplary student today, so they might have to say something to me.
Oh, 7 the
Nothing
dog.
bad. Nothing bad. He's just a teenager, He's a teenager and
He's a teenager.
He's
Yeah,
learning.
he's pushing boundaries.
Yeah, and that's expected at his age because he's like a year and change, So that's like, I don't know.
I can't believe that even happened so fast. I feel like
I know.
he's still just a little puppy.
He is. To me, he is.
Yeah.
He definitely acts like it, Sarah.
Well, for anybody who's like, "Hey, where you guys been?" I'll take that one. Last week, I've also had some issues with Otis, my dog, and we weren't able to do the show last week, kind of last minute. So thanks to everybody for your patience. Really glad to have you along for this ride. But yeah, we're back at it.
We're back at it, and there's not much going on, to be honest with you. I mean, it's after the big WWDC announcement, I feel like the dust is settling, and we're waiting for everyone to eventually get their iOS 26 whatever in whatever device, iOS, iPad, tvOS, and some of us have developer versions like I do, and I'll talk about the iPad because I didn't put it on my phone. I only put it on my iPad, but it's been illuminating to try things with the new. My battery
Good.
does drain a bit faster, but which is expected. But I could talk about it later. My experience over the last several weeks, because it's been interesting.
Well, I will say that my Apple Watch, which is my beloved Apple Watch that I wear religiously every day and at night as well. I know that's not for everybody, but I do. It's Series 7 or Series 8? No, Series 7. And the battery definitely drains. It used to just be sort of like, a couple days, we're good to go. What I do is, my routine is, because I wear it at night, and by the time I get up in the morning, it's like I, make my coffee, sit down at the computer, see what's going on in the world, on the internet, charge my watch. And so that works out well. And then it lasts for the rest of the day. And it still is doing that. But I've noticed that it used to be when I would, and this is like, this is me using it for, exercise stuff. And, I'm draining the battery more than just wearing the watch. I'm using a variety of apps. And in the morning, it used to be sort of like 30%. And now it's like 4%. And so I wake up and I charge it. So it hasn't really changed anything, negatively for me. But I'm like, that battery is not getting better. It's getting older.
Yeah. Well, I think about it too. Like, do we need to just have less notifications on the watches? It doesn't really help though, right? It's not like gonna, suddenly get your
I have very
watch
few
50%
notifications on my watch.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I have notifications for, if you message me, for example, I'm going to get that. If there's some health app stuff that I get, if I were to get an Uber Eats order, then I have notifications for things that are very timely, where I'm like, oh, I need to be at my front door, or I need to know that this person is trying to get a hold of me. But most of my notifications that I get on my phone are not actually on my watch. So I don't think it's really notification based. I think it's just age. I think my watch is no longer a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's still chugging. Support. It's chugging. Yeah. At a point where it can't get through the night without dying, then we'll talk about it. But we're not there yet. But I've definitely noticed this, because it used to be like, oh man, if I'm fully charged at 10 a.m., then I don't really have to worry about it until 10 a.m. tomorrow, type thing.
Well, what do we give it? Another year before you're like, might be time.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's been such a road warrior for me. I really
you're like,
don't
it's going to last longer. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think it's different for, I guess with laptops, for whatever reason. It's like I feel compelled, or, an iPhone. I feel compelled to be like, oh, the latest and greatest. And the Apple Watch, there are certain features that you have on your Apple Watch, which is newer than mine. But I'm like, no, it does the job. It's chugging along. I mean, really, it's like I look at my complications, and it's like I know what day it is. I know what time it is. I know what the weather is. I know that I have not closed my exercise rings. I have my battery life, and then I've got, a quick, if I want to start an exercise over on the lower right-hand side. But everybody's different. So it's just something I've noticed.
Yeah, something to keep your eye on, and hopefully it'll just keep chugging along, and you just have a little bit more. You need to like charge it a little bit more often, but hopefully it'll just keep chugging along for a little while longer. I mean, I remember I had the Series 4 for so long, it lasted as long as it could, till finally I was like, there's no point in wearing this anymore.
Like, well, if we want to get into some news here, this is a story from about a week ago, but we felt that it was important to at least mention that this is an Apple Insider article in our show notes, but lots of other outlets also picked it up, that 16 billion logins were discovered across exposed data sets, and that included Apple ID passwords. Now you might say like, oh my gosh, what does it mean? Well, it doesn't really mean anything if you use a password manager. If you use a password manager, which I do, and I know you do as well, Eileen, and
Yep.
and you are thorough about password manager type behavior, this is not that big a deal. Now, if you were to be like, well, I haven't logged into my like me.com account in a while. And maybe that password could have been reused other places before I used a password manager, or maybe I was just in a hurry that day, whatever. No judgment, but now's the time to just kind of take a look at that. In fact, about a week ago, and I was talking about this with Heather Frank, who's my co-host on Have Such a Good Day, our podcast. I was like, Heather, I've got I have a new routine when I just sort of like feel like being on the internet, but I don't want to look at Twitter anymore or X. I've gone through my email. I don't really have anything to do, and I don't want to just like doom scroll. So what I do is I open LastPass, which is my password manager, and I go through all the passwords that are potentially compromised, and I change them. And she was like,
Oh.
I mean, how many of them are there? And I'm like, 400.
Oh my.
And she was like, how's that possible? And I'm like, no, but think about it. You log into one site, you buy a pair of jeans, right? And it's like some site where you're like, oh yeah, I'll connect through Google or Facebook or Apple.
Yeah.
And that password now belongs to that site, and that password might, where else does it live type thing. And so it really is like a whack-a-mole situation where I am nowhere near being 100% for sure secure. But yeah, I think it's a very good reminder to all of us to be like, listen, you're not gonna like sit down for an hour and change every single password that maybe you screwed up in the past. Like, just keep it in the back of your mind. Maybe you have an hour to kill. Everything helps.
Everything helps. And like you said, having the password manager is just, it'll, create the password for you, and then it'll save it automatically, which is awesome. So, when this came out, it took me a couple days, but I did get a notification that like, you should, maybe change your password. I was like, oh, okay. And so I did. And it's now a more difficult password than it was before. So I'm trying to remember this because I use my Apple password a lot, to log into things or even just to buy things. I've told I've told it to be like, don't just automatically, buy things. Always prompt the password. And I have, two-factor authentication and all that stuff on everything. But like, even though it's such a hassle, it's probably really worth it, right? Like Facebook, if I am logged out of Facebook, that two-factor authentication, whatever I did was like, go into the app or go into your other phone and say it's, I made it so difficult. But I think at the end of the day, it's worth it because I know that, okay, whoever has to go through all of these hoops, and it's going to alert me right away that someone's trying to, log in. I'm not going to say like it's one and done. Oh, I did it. And then all of a sudden, like I'm super foolproof. I still changed it anyway, like, all right, let me just change it. And every once in a while when I see those compromise, I'm like, maybe it's time, unless it's some like service I don't even use anymore. Then I'm like, forget it. But yeah, maybe it's time. And again, like, it's not that hard to change it. It's just, if you know your password and you got to remember, and if you want to remember a new password, that's where I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Well, and the whole idea of the password manager is that you don't know your password.
Right.
It's like when I log into my bank, all my banking is online now and has been for some time. And every few months I just change my password. Do I have to? I don't know. I mean, I just do it. Just to do it. But it's like if someone were to be like, Sarah, holding a gun to my head, like, what's your password for Bank of America? It's like, I actually don't know. I don't know. There's no way I will know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it's a thing that is stored in my password manager, and it's better that way. And you know, to especially with the stuff that you know, if money's involved or just things that
Yeah.
you're using regularly, you know, my Gmail accounts, because I've got a few
Right.
of them, all that stuff. It's good practice. And
Yeah.
Apple's password manager, if anyone's using that, which I'm using LastPass, but also Apple's password manager I kind of use as a backup for
Yeah.
a few things. That
Same.
actually works quite well.
Yeah, same. And you know, sometimes you'll see like the Apple Password Manager tell you you might want to change it, whereas LastPass may not. You can compare, which is good, just to give you that extra like notification or extra thought of like, yeah, you might want to, you know, be more secure. I'm always in favor of more secure, even if it's so difficult. You know, I'm like, wait, do I go to the authentication app or do I just say yes on the web? Like, there's so many different ways, but you know,
I had this is a few years ago now, so it wasn't super recently. It was like, I don't know. I mean, what year is it? 2025. So this was probably like 2020. Yeah, something like that. And I had gone to my friend's house and you know, for dinner or whatever, which was not really close to where I lived. You know, so it was like an hour drive, and you know, it was fun. We had a great time. And I don't even know how I did it, Eileen, but I left my phone there.
Oh.
And I didn't I don't even know like how, I guess it was like pre-CarPlay for me or something. I didn't even realize it the entire time I went home. Maybe I was just listening to the radio or something. So I get home and I'm like, oh, where's my phone? I must have left it at so-and-so's house. And it would have been like a huge hassle for me to drive a whole hour there again to get the phone and then an hour back, you know? But obviously it's like I have to have the phone. So I was like, all right, so what do I do? What do I do? Let me get a hold of her on Facebook, you know? But I
Okay.
can't log into Facebook because it's all two-factor auth.
yeah,
You know, and so I'm like, okay, I can't do that. Let me think about. I'll text. No, I can't text her. How would I text her? You know, and it was this whole thing where it was like the whole thing was designed to protect me, and it
Yeah.
did. But it
Yeah.
did to the point where I was like, I literally have to drive back and get the phone because there's no other way to like ping my friend because the phone is with her. And
Right.
that's the only way I can get into any of this stuff. And at one point, my mom was actually with me. It was so funny. She was like, I've got it. I've got it. Just call her on my landline.
Oh.
And I'm like,
I don't-
Mom, I don't know her phone number.
I just save it over the phone and I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know
like,
it.
how
Yeah.
would I know her phone number unless I had my phone with me? And she was like, oh, yeah, shoot. All right. So anyway, I drove back, got the phone. Yeah, all was well. But it was a good reminder of like, yeah, this is supposed to lock your ish down. You know, in the event that you get separated from a device or, you know, somebody has access to your stuff.
So wait, now with iOS 26, with the phone app, you would have been able to call her, right, on a different device? Like,
but I
say
didn't
this
know her-
happens.
but I didn't know
just
her-
say this happened now. Oh, that's true. You did. Oh, but wouldn't it have your contacts? The phone app? I'm just saying, like, now if this happened again, you would be able to get her through your laptop, right?
I don't think so. I've thought about this because that
Oh,
day,
okay.
you know, now it's like, this is like a funny story, but that day I was like so frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to spend 4 hours in the car instead of 1 hour. Yay. But I was like, you know, my mom, because my mom knows my friend, I'm like, I guess we could have texted my friend through Facebook Messenger on my mom's account, and she would have like. But again, it's like that's a
Yeah.
very specific scenario that
Yeah.
isn't always going to work.
Yeah.
And truly, it basically was like every service that I have has two-factor auth. That
Yeah.
is either, you know, I mean, I have a YubiKey for a couple of things, but I do the iPhone for a lot of other stuff. And it's
Yeah.
like, you don't have your phone, you're out.
Yeah.
You can't get in.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that, you know, hopefully Christmas 2025 will not be the exact same situation.
Oh man. Oh
Yeah.
man. That's so frustrating.
I was like, why didn't I know that didn't have my phone on a whole hour drive home? And I'm like, maybe it was Christmas Day and I was just listening to Christmas music or something and just being weird. Who knows? But anyway, okay, so Eileen, Apple Intelligence. We've been talking about Apple Intelligence since we started the show. And Apple Intelligence has, well, there's some facets of it that are rolling out, but it doesn't appear to now be a real thing until next spring at the earliest. There are a lot of rumors about, is Apple going to buy Perplexity AI?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and has Apple just sort of thrown in the towel, like, we can't catch up, we have to buy a company in order to catch up? Who knows? I don't have insider information about that, but yeah, the whole Apple Intelligence thing, it sounded so great last year, over a year ago. And now it's kind of like, oh yeah, Siri's like marginally better at doing this one thing.
Exactly. It's good. So basically, I'm going to be left with, shall I chat with ChatGPT about this question? Yeah, fine. Or maybe I should just use ChatGPT instead the whole time, which I do on my laptop, not necessarily on my phone. On my phone, I'd like to use SIRI, but she's constantly prompting, oh, you want me to go to ChatGPT for that question? I'm like, I guess so. If you ain't got it, jeez. Like,
yeah. It's like,
okay.
it's like, you're right. It's like, I just want the answer, really. But to have something that feels more just like, oh, it's in the Apple ecosystem, that's obviously what the company wants also. They're playing catch up.
Yep. All right. Well, we just wait and, we just use ChatGPT like at this point.
I did use, so I had to submit an invoice to a company the other day, and they kept being like, Sarah, submit the invoice, come on, like, don't you want to get paid? I'm like, yeah, I just hate invoicing, it's the worst. Just not a fun thing to do, but obviously, a way that freelancers get paid. And so I went into Notes, and because Notes is, I don't know how much you use Notes for stuff. I don't
all
use
the time.
Notes. Yeah, like I don't use it like to its full capabilities. I'm aware of that. But I was like, all right, like go into Notes, and then basically because all of my invoice stuff was just sort of like a mess in Notes. Just stuff where I'm like date and money, date and money, that kind of thing. So I was like, all right, so go through ChatGPT. We like formalize this for an invoice to this entity from me. Here's my address. Here's here's all the stuff. But like, I was sort of like, is it gonna work? Because it was like, in my mind, it all made sense to me, but it was really just like a bunch of scribbling. Essentially, was what I was doing. Like I was making notes, but it sucked. It did a great job.
Oh,
and then
nice.
Brought it back into Notes, sent it off, and the person who got it was like, "Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, do it this way the next time. Perfect." And I was like, "Wow, that was way easier than I thought it was going to be." Because what I used to do is I would take all of my just like brain dump stuff and like create a new spreadsheet and label it, and be like, all right, so if I did this twice, then this is the money, and now I have to do some sort of just a variety of like spreadsheet export stuff. It was so easy. So
see,
kudos
to you,
ChatGPT. I'm into you.
That's the thing. Like, these sort of what we think is smaller tasks are the things that I think are important, that gets us off the like, oh, it's going to take me an hour to put this together. And it just takes you minutes, right? Like this is
Yeah.
why I like AI now when you're using it for reasons of like replacing people, or this is art versus, or lying about it. Like, oh, I created this myself and it wasn't, it was just AI. That's where it gets, that's the line, right? That I'm like, no, I don't know. I don't know about that. But I'm really into like discovering and learning about all of the different programs, and so I'm taking this sort of online course to learn like Midjourney, and I'm not even a designer, but everything Dolly. I'm using Claude too. And these are the basics, right? And there's so many others, and ChatGPT has like the app. Has like a ton of apps within it, that you could just start with ChatGPT and create a big graphic, and use ChatGPT to go through to use Midjourney. So it's fascinating what you can do there. And like actually yesterday, I did a little thing like, oh, create a video, a short form vertical video about homeless dogs that are in a shelter, and it like created this whole, and you could totally tell, I feel like it wasn't real, but it could look real, and it made this like 20-second like little vertical video with a fake person and fake dogs that almost looked real and had the message that I asked it to say in like minutes. And that would have taken me how long to shoot and how long to do XYZ. Now I would want it more authentic and actually go to a shelter and take video of that shelter, and maybe put it into the system and say, hey, why don't you edit it for me? But the things that it can do, Sarah, like I'm both like fascinated, and I'm also, I have my arms, like, ooh, wait, stop there, because there's just also just a ton of people, you say those two letters and people freak out and think that you are damaging the world. Which is like, Jesus, okay, you're on that side of the fence. All right, that's fine. But, for your purpose, like, this is what I love to hear. Like, you just invoiced with like no time. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, of like making our world more efficient. Like, I don't want to spend time on an invoice,
it's like I didn't change the world yesterday. That's for sure. But I was just like, you know what? I'm dragging my feet about this stupid thing that I keep meaning to do. And it's like, it's like when you're a freelancer and you're invoicing somebody for money, it's like, I need the money. It's not like I don't need it.
Right,
I find it to be so unpleasant. Just kind of just the minutia of it, the whole thing. And it really was like, oh, if that's all I have to do, I mean, that was 10 minutes maybe, from start to finish, and including, sending it off to the right recipient. So yeah, Apple Intelligence, I don't know, man. Apple has a long way to go. That's obvious.
Good luck. Everything else is speeding by it. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll probably be good.
Real quick before we take a break, just a note. Sometimes we talk about all things consumer facing with Apple, but behind the scenes is kind of interesting too. And a story from last week was that Apple, which if you aren't aware, makes most of its iPhones and other components as well, but particularly iPhones in China, but has been pushing outside of China for the last few years. They do a variety of stuff in Vietnam and India, Taiwan, and then of course there's talk about doing stuff in the U.S. as well. But Foxconn, which is Apple's biggest manufacturing plant. I mean, the iPhone that you look at today was made predominantly by Foxconn. Somebody and a variety of machines put that thing together, is going to start making iPhone casings in India. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, I mean, if it works out well, then as a consumer, you probably don't know any different. But I do think it's interesting to see how much the idea of where an iPhone is assembled. The iPhone folks, Apple folks, they always talk about like, made with love in Cupertino or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it was conceived in Cupertino.
Exactly.
But it was built elsewhere, and everybody knows that. And maybe you care about that, and maybe you don't. But I do think it is, it's worth paying attention to that. A lot of the stuff that we use every day is made more and more in other places besides China.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that tariffs word. Gotta move things around. Yeah, definitely worth making a note of. Rather than being dependent on, one country. If it's not coming here.
All right, let's take a quick break. We're coming back with thoughts on iPad 26. Eileen, you've got some of those.
I do.
All right, so iOS 26, iPad 26, it's a thing. Apple announced it at WWDC. That's the naming convention. That's what we're going with. Some people were bent out of shape about it. I never really understood why. It makes sense to me. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah. What do you think about iPad 26? Because I actually don't have. Do I have an iPad in my house anymore? Hard to say. I haven't used an iPad in quite some time, so I can't take this out for a spin. But I know you've been playing around with it.
Yeah, I've been playing around with it. Okay. If you're watching on video, you could see my home screen with the large number. They were, with the liquid glass there. And I'm just showing that off for people who are just listening. There's been a lot of talk about with iOS 26, and I've watched a lot of different videos of, other Apple enthusiasts. Is it now a computer with the iPad 26? And with multitasking, it's getting close. Now, I tried really hard last night to work in Excel or Google Sheets, and it was still a little wonky. Now, I am using a third-party keyboard, to create instead of the Apple keyboard. So maybe that is giving me sort of maybe the experience is not so great because I bought a cheaper third-party keyboard. But for the most part, I was able to do most of the work that I needed to get done with my iPad. It was just towards the end. And then I have to admit, when I finally sat down to my laptop and continued and finished up, I was like, oh, this is so much easier. Because there's a little bit with like cut and paste. There's just things where, again, it might be my third-party keyboard, but it would be a little sensitive, and the cursor jumps in weird places when I'm like, wait, no, I'm trying to type a paragraph, and you just jumped and you left, and now the formatting is all wonky. And that's just using Google Sheets, right? But if you're just using everyday apps, and I do like the multi-windowing that I don't think Stage Manager was that great. A lot of people are like, oh, we already had that with Stage Manager. And I'm like, I don't think so. This is way different.
I never use it.
It's still buggy. Like there's sometimes where I'm like opening up, I'm trying to stretch a window and it just doesn't, it's doing a rubber band thing and it doesn't want to do it so seamlessly. And so I have to be a little bit careful when I drag the end corner to make it bigger or make it smaller. So there's just a little few buggy things like that, but I see the future. I see the future of it working. What I want to do next is I want to use the actual Apple keyboard. Like I want to just go to the Apple store and, open up Google Sheets. I want to do a few things that I do on my own iPad and see if it's just better. Like the keyboard might make a difference, because I was like, oh, I can't do this yet. Also, it is quite heavy though. To be honest with you, when you're typing with this thing here, like the top side is really heavy and it feels like, the top part of your iPad here is like gonna fall over because the bottom is so light, like the weight distribution is weird.
iPad itself is heavy.
Weird.
Got it.
Yeah. So it feels weird when it's, it's magnetized on the top here, but I just feel like, I'm typing, it's
Bluetooth
it's not like a laptop.
Connected, right?
Yep, Bluetooth connected. Yep.
Yeah,
I even have like a
really
lighted keyboard. And
unless
stuff
you bought like a really weird keyboard, it's like the keyboard really shouldn't not work. It's
yeah,
it's just keyboards are kind of do their thing, but it's funny. So I've been at Otis the dog, who's been at the vet a lot recently. They've got my vet They have a few different locations, and we've been to a few of them, but they all are clearly using, it's like you talk to the vet or vet techs on their app, which is it's Android and iOS. It's not iOS only, but it's not desktop. Which is so annoying to me because I'm just like, just let me just open up the portal on my computer. That's where I'm sitting right now. But okay, whatever, fine. I'll keep the phone nearby. But when I'm at the vet, they do this sort of, we're checking in, ask them, asking me various questions. How's he doing? How's he eating? Blah, blah, blah. And I kind of didn't really notice until one day where they're like, oh, you have to sign something. Like I had to basically like sign for like, yes, it's okay if you sedate him when you do this particular procedure. And the woman like gives me her laptop, the vet tech, which she's been, entering stuff into the whole time. And I'm like, and she's like, no, just up on the screen. I'm like, oh, it's a touch screen. And she's like, yeah, it's a touch screen. And I was like, oh, that's very convenient. Here's my signature. And I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense because otherwise it seemed it wasn't a MacBook. It was some sort of Windows machine. But I was like, see, this is like if you need somebody to do something quickly, it's like you don't want to like give your laptop to a client and have them be like typing and do weird things. It's like you just want to be like, touch this to say yes, and then sign here. And the whole being able to be on the screen and on the keyboard simultaneously is clutch. I don't have that right now. I don't have that on any machine. I'm very very devoted to my keyboards because that's all I have, Eileen.
Yeah, it is kind of cool, like you said, the touch when I'm using my iPad and I'm just like using, I'm trying to use the keys and I'm like, wait, why am I doing that? Flick with my finger. And I'm just like, that's so much easier. And to your point, like signing things, like, when I'm like signing a document, it's easier than using my mouse or my trackpad. I have my, my pencil and it's like that's my real signature instead of some like horribly, like it looks like I'm 5 years old trying to sign my name on,
my signatures look like I'm 5 years old anyway. At one point, okay, so this is a total tangent, but so because I've had to sign a lot of stuff recently, I if I'm going to sign my signature, it looks like the way I sign, it's my name, it's my special style. Everybody's got one, right? But I just don't sign things very often anymore. Most stuff is, kind of behind the scenes or just it's digital now. And I signed something and I kind of I was in a hurry and I was sort of like, there's my signature. And the woman was like, can you do it again? I don't think that was your signature. And I'm like, well, I mean, it was my hand and it's my body.
Oh, she didn't accept
like,
it?
No, you got to like, you have to like do a real signature.
Oh,
I was like,
man.
Okay, I guess I'll do that again.
Okay.
I was like,
all right.
Never saw that before. No, nobody at the corner store cares that my signature looks weird. I just sort of go like, that's my signature.
So I going back to the experience of iPad. Is it a computer? I mean, I can see it happening, but there are a lot more people who are more excited by it, and maybe those are the people that use the iPad even more than I do. But I'm not going to say that it's not possible. I mean, it's possible that people are already doing it, but even more so. So this new upgrade, I think, is. I think it's going to blow people away. Let me go get 7. Hang really quick. Thanks everybody for pausing.
Pause. Eileen's getting 7. He's a good dog. If you're not following him on Instagram, 7 the Good Dog is a fun hang. I very much I vouch for him. He's very cute. He's not. I was about to say he's not as cute as Otis. That's not fair. All dogs are cute. All dogs are equally cute. But Otis is the cutest dog. He just is. Okay? Everybody knows it. I'm just going to keep talking until Eileen gets back. Speaking of Otis, he's sitting next to me. What are you doing, bud? Yeah? You ready to go on a walk in a little bit? Mm-hmm. This is very fun behind the scenes content, everyone. What are we going to talk about next? I would actually, for anybody who is in our live chat, are you using Apple's Journal app? Because we're about to talk about the Journal app coming to iPad and Mac, and I wish I had more of a feeling about this because I don't use it. I just don't use the journaling app. I know journaling is very important to a lot of folks. Some people like to do it analog. Some people like to do it digitally. Some people like some sort of combination of the two. But yeah, I'm just going to keep talking. One thing I am good at is talking. So Laminar Rainbow says, I use notes. So same, I use notes. And that's why the journal app doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm just sort of like, what can I use this for that isn't for notes? Now, if somebody really wants it to be presented to them as a journaling, this is for journaling, you write down your thoughts, you add some media, add some map stuff, it's multimedia. But I'm like, I could do that in notes. And notes is where I just have so much other stuff anyway. So that's my feeling about this. I almost feel like I've talked about this to the point that maybe we even skip this segment when Eileen gets back, unless she uses the journal app and has so many good reasons to use it. All right. So Otis, do you want to sing a song? Okie dokie. Do we want everyone to know what kind of song that we sing to Oat? He's an odio oat, and an odio oat. He's a special oat. Oh wow, I made you yawn. I guess I'm putting him to sleep. Okay, well that's Laminar Rainbow. You might be the only one who knows this, but just a little piece into what I do when I'm alone in my house with my animals. Buddy, if you're too hot, go out to the fan. Go out to the fan. Go out to the fan. Okay. Then just be hot. You are a hot boy. You are a hot boy. Oh boy. You just can't predict life, can ya? You just gotta roll with the punches. Sometimes they're literally punches in your face. I mean, no, I didn't mean it that way. Not actual punches to your face, but just punches, life punches. Life will punch you. Will you please go to your fan, Otis? No, he won't. Velcro dog extraordinaire. Velcro dog. Well, hopefully everything was okay with 7. Oh, here, Eileen's back.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. He's all settled. He's taking his nap.
Oh, good. Good.
I heard his day was not as crazy as I thought it might be, but
oh well,
he was a good boy. He's just he's just squirrely little guy.
As well, while you were gone, Eileen, I just decided to talk about the journal app.
Oh, yeah. Tell me, because you use it for your phone, and I know it's coming to the iPad, and okay.
Okay, so, all right. So, Apple's journal app coming to the iPad and Mac, and, Apple fans, certain Apple fans, very excited about this. And I don't use the journal app. At Laminar Rainbow in our chat said, I use notes. Same with me. I get that journaling is sort of, it's sort of a buzzword for, write things down. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's my private diary, although some people journal that way. But it's like, you put stuff down, you either, it's text, photos, maps, a variety of things. And it's all in a place that's supposed to be, easy to put together, and then maybe more importantly, easy to look back on. I actually, so Eileen, I'm not a journaler. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Same.
Same.
I sometimes write things down, here and there. Maybe I post them on the internet. I used to do that quite a bit more than I do now. Maybe it's just for me, but it's like I get the concept.
Yeah.
And but I know a lot of folks who are like, no, it's pretty like important part of my life, to help with like stress and to just kind of make sense of thoughts, and I'll go back, 12 days ago, what was I thinking? And I'm like, wow, you really do that? Oh yeah. So the journal app is very much focused on that sort of thing, which which I definitely get. However, I feel like the Notes app is just my journaling app.
Yeah.
I don't do like long paragraphs of like, here's how I'm feeling this morning, but I could. It would be perfectly fine place to do that. So I almost wonder how many people think like, oh yeah, so Notes is for this type of thing, and journal is for this type of thing, and are excited for it to come out of iOS, which it was only iOS only until now.
Right. I'm also not a journaler, and I put pretty much. I'm not journaling in Notes, but I use Notes all the time, right? Like I'm just like, oh, if I want to brain dump something, it goes into Notes. Now I need to organize it a little bit better, and I've been starting to put things in folders because you could do a lot of things on. But I mentioned I was taking this sort of online course on AI and just learning some of the basics. And I open up Notes, and if there's something significant that I learn, I put it all in there. If there's like a generated photo and I could I put it in my Notes as like, okay, that's a good place to store things, and it works for me. Like I'm a big Notes fan, and like you said, I don't think I use it as robustly. There's so many new things that you can do on Notes to make it like a journal. Now I might download a journal, but I also use GoodNotes, and GoodNotes is something I pay for. It's $10 a year. But it can be your journal. You can download journal templates and use it as a journal. A lot of people like me use it for like calendaring and I don't know, just a little bit like to handwrite. I like to handwrite in it, and I was using it for my Korean studies when I was doing Korean and handwriting in there. So that's kind of what I've seen people use it for. Oh, I also use GoodNotes to make vision boards, per month, just to kind of, when you do vision boards, I think you're supposed to like do it at the beginning of the month and then lay it all out. And then I sometimes kind of just do halfway, and then I start adding as things happen, as a way of like looking back at like, oh, that was the theme for the month. These things kind of this was the music I was listening to. This is what I did. This is where I went. Along with like motivational quotes and stuff like that. So a lot of people do, I feel like GoodNotes is a good way to just use journal. Because a lot of people in the GoodNotes community are creating these templates that you upload for free, and then you create your own situation. But a lot of people like to have it, already made for them. And I'm looking at, what I see here, what journal is or will be. And I think it's interesting. It looks a lot like, I see these journal entries in this photo here, and it reminds me of reminders. To be honest with you, because reminders is another thing that I use too, hand in hand with Notes, where like that's my to-do list. That's my like, don't forget to do all of these things today. Versus Notes. Notes is more of a brain dump. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's just so many different ways, and it can be customized to how you need it to be. But Journal's going to be free, right? So
Yeah.
that's that's not bad. That's great. I might give it a look now that it's on the iPad.
I pulled a couple of because I knew we were going to talk about this today, and I pulled a couple of my friends who we just like to talk about just nerdy stuff, and they're all Apple users as well. And I was like, "Who's using the Journal app?" And everybody came back with like, "Well, not me, but here's what I use instead." Oh yeah, no, I don't use that, but here's what I use instead. I was like, okay, so no one's using it. Like I not to say that if you're out there and you're like, no, it's me, do send us feedback at applevisionshow.com. But yeah, I want that like killer reason for the app. And that's just, I don't feel like I have that yet, or I just, I don't know about it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different, as I was mentioning, GoodNotes, there's Notability people use. There is Day One Journal. That's been out forever.
Day One was one of the examples. Someone's like, why don't you just use Day One? I'm like, no, I'm not saying. I'm not trying to argue with you. I just want to know if anyone's using the Journal app.
And the answer is no. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So one thing I am excited about, because when I got the Apple AirPods, so I have the AirPods Pro 2. I got them in late 2023. Then I lost them because I'm an idiot in 2024. Got another pair, same ones. Because there was no newer model. So that's what I'm still rocking. And besides the one unfortunate incident where they fell out of my purse and were never to be seen again, although actually they were to be seen again at my neighbor's house, but I did not feel comfortable, beating down their door, getting my AirPods back. They have been an indispensable part of my life. They really are. I mean, I am... I honestly, half the time, I don't even know where my phone is, but I know where my AirPods are.
Wow. Okay.
I do not lose those AirPods because I can use them with my watch too. It's it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
We got a whole thing going on, and my phone is not usually lost, but I just don't use it as much as the next guy. And yeah, it's just AirPods. I love them, and earbuds. Many, many, many different manufacturers make earbuds, but I'm telling you, the AirPods are the best. They really are. And, if you're an Apple person, they just can't get better. So I was excited about this possibility of, and this comes from Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg initially, but the rumor mill is a twirling about AirPods Pro 3 and what will they do differently. And I don't know. I'm like,
when you read this, there's nothing here that was like, yes, that's the killer feature that'll make this even more better because you love it, right?
It's sort of like, okay, so better chip. Again, this is, rumor mill, but, better chip, better audio quality, better battery life, better connectivity speed, better noise cancellation, transparency mode. All of this stuff is like, oh, that sounds good. It's just like better versions of what I already like. Okay. None of it feels all that revolutionary. Now, if hardware-wise, because when the AirPods first came out, they had the longer stems, the very, very first V1. And I remember being like, yeah, I'm not wearing that. I didn't like them. And maybe it was just because I just didn't have them. So I was like, yeah, no, they look stupid. And, they've gotten shorter, but it's like, yeah, I mean, you see them all over the place. I'm wearing them. It's not a big deal. I got over it.
Yeah.
But if hardware-wise, there were to be some overhaul on what they look like, I'd be interested to see what that would look like. Because right now, I have weird ears. I mean, headphones in general, the non-earbud kind of, headphones that not over the ear, but anything that was in ear before, especially like all the headphones that came with the iPhones in the past never fit in my ears. They hurt. They would fall out. It was a mess. They were also wired. It was.
Yeah.
I hate it. You know, they're always messed up in your purse. You're constantly like being like, oh, let me untangle my earbuds. So the AirPods are just I'm into them.
Yeah.
And so if they can be better, great. But don't screw up a good thing, Apple.
Don't mess it up. Yeah. I don't have AirPods. I mean, if you're watching video, you see that I have the, AirPods Max, which I really love. And for Buds, I've shown this before, but I have the Beats, Solo Beats. These are cheapy. They're $70. They're not that expensive. I'm surprised I haven't lost them yet, to be honest with you. I don't know why a few times at night I have them on and I'm walking around the house and finally, I need to wash my face. It's time to go to bed. And then it's like, of course it falls out. It falls out. It's in the water. It's survived. But I would like something that sticks, or maybe it's just me and I need to just don't put my I'm just listening to this. I'm like, I want to keep listening, but I got to wash my face. Sometimes it's good to detach. I have to remind myself, like, I don't have to be attached to my technology, even when I'm just doing my nightly. It's only when I wash my face, because you don't get, you tilt your head and then all of a sudden, I don't know, it just goes, the buds go, oops, let me fall out. So
oh no, I definitely get it. Yeah, I always forget that you're wearing the Max. I mean, I can see them, but yeah, no, I've never tried them. And I do use right now. I mean, I'm using studio over the ear headphones, which these Sony. What's the MDR 7506? Everybody uses these. Not everybody, but they're kind of a staple, of podcasting, and they're comfy and whatever. But I would not use these out and about. There's something about like over the ear when I'm in the world. Yeah. I'm just like, it's too much headphone. It's just too much headphone. Now, not everybody feels that way. I mean, we all see people on the street all the time, rocking all sorts of over the ear headphones, whether they be, the AirPods Max or whatever. The only thing that continues to weird me out is all the people at the gym who are wearing
these.
The
over the ear?
The Maxes.
I don't like to sweat in these,
No.
I already, if I wear makeup, I can see. And so I have to take a cloth to it. So I have to clean this because, when I'm wearing makeup, a little bit of foundation today, I know I'm going to have to clean, my Max there.
Same.
But the sweat, I guess you can replace it. You can take it off, but why, But I don't know. I mean, if that's the only thing you have, if it's the only thing you have, then that's why you use it. But
Totally. It just, I feel like it's like, if you're rocking, the AirPods Max, then it's, it's you're kind of letting people know, like, I've got a real nice pair of headphones, right? And, at the gym, I'm just like, maybe you're just like lifting a couple weights and not sweating a lot. But when I'm at the gym, that's not the case. It's like, I mean, it's Sweat City. That's the whole point. So it's fascinating to me. But I've talked to people about this before, and they're like, Sarah, you just have to get over it. That's just how everybody works now. And I'm like, or you just use AirPods in your ear, and it's not an issue. I mean, you still have to like kind of, clean them, and they're in your ear. Yeah. But it's so much less of an issue. But everybody's different.
I guess, because I think some people, I know people that still use the wired headsets because they've lost AirPods and they were like, I can't afford to keep replacing them, so they're going back to wired because it's cheaper and they don't lose them. So
I've heard this argument from people before of like, it's just easier, and I'm like, well, I mean, I guess it is. If I thought I was going to lose my AirPods, I would for sure use a plug-in option, because I was so mad last year when I lost mine and had to buy more. Like it's $160.
Yeah. So
that I could have used for mac and cheese. Okay.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I guess, everyone has their own preference and, some people don't want the AirPods. They want the Beats or they want, we've got Laminars, like I'm eyeing some Sennheiser HD 600s, like people have, maybe there's like a brand affinity, but I gotta say, I'm sure with your AirPods too, my AirPods Max, it just works seamless. I can go from device, and let me listen to this on Spotify. Let me listen to this on YouTube. It just works. It goes, you want to listen over there? Okay, we'll move you over here. I've got my iPad, my phone, and my desktop in front of me. If at any one point I decide that's the audio I want to listen to, it goes right there. Whereas, with my Beats, because it's, I have to go into settings or, pull down the drop down menu, make sure the Bluetooth is connected and all of that stuff before I could do that. But I wouldn't do it because it'd be too much work.
I will say, I can't remember the exact scenario that this happened, but so when I'm in the morning, so right now I'm in my studio, so I'm at my like main desktop. But in the morning, when I first get up in the morning, I'm usually in another room on my laptop, just kind of being cash. And so if somebody calls me, if I get a phone call, I'll get the call on my laptop. It goes through FaceTime, and so I'll just talk to somebody on the laptop, and that way I don't have to like reach for my phone, and I'm not even using my AirPods at that point. And I had a funny thing the other day where I got a call, and my my phone was like in my purse, like across the house. Who even knows why I can't get my life together? But I got a call, so I answer it on my watch.
Okay.
But which is I don't have cell service on my watch, so it's tied to my phone, right? And whenever I answer a call on my watch, I'm like, "Hi, can you hear me?" It's so weird, right?
Yeah.
It's even weirder when you're out and about in public life. But it didn't work, and then the laptop said, "Oh, your laptop and your phone need to be on the same Wi-Fi network." And I was like, "That's weird," because they clearly are. I'm home, and Wi-Fi. We're all on the same Wi-Fi network. It happened a couple times, and then it just sort of went away. I'm chalking it up to just some sort of weird Mac OS thing.
Yeah.
Or
It's
iOS
gotta
thing,
be.
really. Who knows?
And-
It was odd though. I was like, what is going on? Like, what? I had to kind of check a bunch of network settings. I'm like, no, everything's fine. So yeah,
Are you running the beta?
I am.
Oh, maybe. I always blame the beta. I always like, it's because we're
It's the
running the
beta.
tester mode.
Yeah.
When it may not be, but yeah, that's odd. It's odd.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we are going to go through a very fun email that we got from one of our longtime listeners. Talk to you in a few. All right, Eileen, before we get to Philip's email, which is a delightful email, and Philip, you're the best. But last night, a friend of mine texted me out of the blue, and he was like, "The bareback."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "The bareback? The bareback. Oh, the bear is back."
The bareback. My bareback.
Yeah, like I was like but it was spelled like BEAR, and I was like, bareback. Like what's the joke? I don't get the joke. The bear, the show is back. No, this is not an Apple TV Plus show, but certainly something that you can watch on an Apple TV. But I said the same thing to someone else. I was like, the bareback, and it's the same thing. It was like question mark, like, what are you doing? What's happening?
What does
And
that
I was
mean?
like, the show. Oh, okay. So anyway, I got through like 4 episodes last night, and I was like, Sarah, stop it, because they dumped the whole season at once
Yeah.
on FX.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, stop it, save it. So I went to sleep, and now I'm just like, yay, more bear.
Oh, are you going to ration? So I only watched 2 episodes last night. Are you going to like do 2 tonight and then 2 another night? And you know what I mean? Like you're not going to watch
probably
it all?
should do 0 tonight, so that because I was about to blow through it, and where the other night I forget what I was watching, but I stayed up really late. For me, it's like anything past midnight is like, that's insane for me. And, it was like 1 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to sleep. And so last night I was like, I'm doing it again. No, just shut the TV off. Good night. Night. So, and I also kind of was tired. So I might need to watch that 4th episode again. I may have missed a few deets. But anyway, I'm very excited about that. That's my show. That's my jam.
Well, here's what I discovered. Not only did The Bear, and I thought The Bear was going to be weekly. I forgot that they just dumped it. But you know what this weekend is also? Squid Game. Squid Game 2. So not only do we have we have 2 intense shows that are dropping on the same week. And Squid Game, they just drop it all, right? So then it's like the race of like, I don't want spoilers. I got to watch it all, over the weekend.
When did season 1 of Squid Game drop? Because I definitely binged that. I mean, I started the first one and I was like, this show is insane. What is going on?
You mean the first part? You mean season 1 in general, or the first part of this second season?
The season 1.
Oh, yeah, that was
a couple years ago?
Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah,
at least a couple years ago, without looking it up. But like, it was one of those where I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna watch this whole thing. I'm just gonna, I don't know, I'll make some rice and hang out in my underwear, and that's what we're doing this weekend.
Exactly. Like, I feel like that's what's gonna happen now with The Bear and Squid Game. I'm a little bit more anxious to finish Squid Game because I don't want to run into anything on social media, because that one I feel like gets really well, magnified.
And it's all about spoilers.
It is, yeah.
That's the fun of the game. Is like, who's good, who's bad.
Yeah. How do they get out of it?
Yeah,
all that
right.
Stuff.
Like some things where I'm like, spoilers are sort of like, if I didn't watch the show when it first aired and I found out that some character is no longer on the show because maybe they got killed off or whatever, it's like, well, I didn't really care about it enough to just watch it. Right. But then there are also like the Squid Game type shows where it's like, but if you know ahead of time, it really does ruin the show.
It does ruin it. It really does. Yeah, you wanna go in it blind, and you wanna experience it, and not already have the expectation.
Yeah.
So Squid Game season 1 premiered in 2023.
2023. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. 2023. Yeah. That was a weird year. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Squid Game, also a very weird series. Although, and I will, we weren't doing Apple Vision Show at that point yet, but I told everybody who would listen at this point, when the first season was over, and I will not spoil anything, but I was like, I knew it the whole time.
Oh.
I knew it. And everyone was like, did you though? And I'm like, yes, I did. I probably should have said that on X. So I had
to have it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just know. Sometimes you just like, that's the way I felt about I See Dead People. What was that one?
The Sixth Sense.
I knew.
My mom said the same thing. She's like,
I knew the whole
I knew
time
it from the first 5 minutes. And I'm like, did you? And she's like, yep, I knew it.
I did. And I was kind of disappointed. I was like, because I knew it. I was like, I didn't get surprised because I knew it. So I was like, I didn't love it as much as everybody else did. So
I was definitely
I still
surprised.
thought it was good.
It's still a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we got, I've been hyping up Philip's email. Philip talked about a bunch of stuff. And again, anybody who ever has thoughts, if we spark a conversation in your head, do send it our way. feedback@applevisionshow.com. But Philip wrote, a while back, I reached out to you about a quirky issue where Siri, would play classic French rap whenever I asked for
remember this.
1990s music. We remember this,
Yep.
right?
Yep, I remember.
Philip says, I'm happy to report, after referencing your show and a Reddit thread on the issue, when I contacted Apple, the problem seems to have been resolved. It now properly
Wow.
plays 1990s playlists, and I can finally enjoy my nostalgia fix while driving. All right, so
Hooray!
I mean, we will consider ourselves contributors.
Yes.
Didn't single-handedly fix the issue, but yeah, glad that Apple came back to you on this, Philip. Philip also says, I also wanted to share a CarPlay tip that might be helpful. I use wired CarPlay, I do too, Philip, and recently ran into an issue where it just would not launch after plugging in my phone. After some troubleshooting, I realized I had left my VPN on. Once I turned it off, CarPlay started working immediately. Hopefully, this little nugget can save someone else some frustration.
Interesting.
I have not had this issue. I mean, I run a VPN on my phone sometimes, not 100% of the time. But I have had some connectivity issues here and there, not lately. But I wonder if that might have played a part.
Maybe.
Well,
Yeah, because
makes-
it's trying to
makes
like
sense.
reach. It's trying to work a little bit harder, right? So
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand where you are. Where are you? Where are you?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
CarPlay. So finally, and this one's kind of for everybody, Philip says, I have a question I'd love your insight on. Currently, I'm using a late 2014 Retina 27-inch iMac running Mac OS Big Sur. I recently received a notice from my password manager that they're no longer supporting my OS. Definitely gotten my money's worth from this machine, so I'm looking to upgrade, either to a new desktop Mac or possibly a 16-inch MacBook Pro. I need a larger screen. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Philip, I'm with you on that. I dabble in video editing and occasionally use virtual machines. And price isn't a primary concern, but I'm definitely aiming for longevity. So, I guess my first question, and I looked this up earlier, Philip, and you probably have as well, that I think your iMac running Big Sur can work as a monitor for something like a Mac Mini if you were to get a new machine.
Okay.
There's some kind of discourse online of what those late 2014 models, and if I think it's High Sierra is what Apple says is you have to be running that at the absolute least to be able to use this as a second screen. But that's a couple generations before what you're running, so that's something to look into for sure. Otherwise, I don't know, Eileen. I mean, if Philip is looking for something large, it's like if you are running a 27-inch monitor, that's what you're used to looking at. I mean, right now I've got a 34-inch monitor, and I used to have a 27-inch, so I mean, it's not like that much bigger, but it really makes a difference. It really
does.
makes a difference, especially, when you're just kind of in like crunch mode for work. I wouldn't think that a 16-inch MacBook Pro should be your primary machine. However, if you could use that with the monitor that you already have or anything else that might be laying around, that'd be a great idea. Or, and I know I always talk about the Mac Mini. I mean, my M4 Mac Mini is awesome. My monitor that I mentioned is a Dell monitor. It was a hand-me-down from a friend. Works great. Love it. The Mac Mini is just a little machine, and that's what I would suggest. If you're really, really looking for a Mac, unless you really just want a cool new iMac, and then get that. But that's obviously more expensive.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's up to you, Philip. It's like your preference. I'm always all about having either a Mac Mini or, I love having my my MacBook Pro. And then I could plug that into anywhere, which I also plug it into my TV when I'm trying to watch something. And, I actually, there's no app on the TV and I have to plug it in to watch. So I actually have two 27-inch monitors, and I want a 34. It's in my wish list. And the second monitor, I actually have vertical. instead of horizontal.
Oh,
So I don't have the wide. Yeah, yeah. So it's not like it's not like so wide, but it's wide enough, you know. And I've learned how to stack with the vertical, you know, like maybe just like Slack or Discord or whatever on this side. That way it's just constant. And then over on my right side where I have my horizontal, that's where I do all my work. And I don't usually have my laptop open. I just do right now because I'm using the webcam instead of an actual camera because I don't like the camera that I have. So I like the portability of having that laptop to go everywhere with me and not having a standalone. And it just works for me. But I have, and I don't want to divide, you know, I think also because I have an iPad too. So I'm like, okay, I don't need a desktop. It's good for me to have the laptop because I already have an iPad. But again, it's what you want. I personally love my MacBook Pro, because you can plug it into so many different places. And I like, I'm not going to get a cinema display or whatever that they have on Apple. I used to have one back in the day, and I'm like, why? When there's so many cheaper, you know, monitors on, you know, that you could purchase on Amazon that are really, really good these days.
I know. That's where I am too. It's like, listen, if
Prime
money
Day
was no object, then I'd get an iMac Pro and just go nuts.
Yeah.
But I'm like, the Mac Mini with this Dell monitor. I mean, unless for
great.
some reason you're just like, oh, I really don't want to, you know, mix manufacturers, which I don't know. I guess that matters to some people. I'm like, doesn't matter to me. As long as it works, looks great.
Exactly. And Philip, by the way, Prime days are coming on Amazon. So if you're in the market to buy a new monitor, you know, to support if you buy a Mac Mini or any other, you know, sort of portable, you know, Mac, then it's coming up. It's coming up. I think it's like the 5th or the 8th through the, I don't know, mid-July. So FYI. Yeah, I think, again, it doesn't sound like he's needed, Philip, it doesn't sound like you've needed a laptop. You've been really happy with having the iMac. So maybe, you know, getting the Mac Mini, you know, would be, and a cool ass monitor would be the thing if you don't need something to be portable. But if you want something portable, then I would say the MacBook Pro.
Yeah, for sure. And that, again, if you've got anything lying around that can be just work as a monitor, like maybe it used to be a computer, now it's a monitor type thing. I mean, I think most of us have one or two examples of that where I'm like, I guess I could do that if my desk was a little bit bigger because I got the 34-inch monitor. But for you, Philip, or anybody else, I will say that the Dell monitor, which is an ultra wide 34-inch, slightly curved, not like crazy curved. The crazy curved monitors, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I like that, but it does have a slight curve. It's very nice. And this is a couple years old, and it's chugging right along. So yeah, I mean, definitely look into, you know, if you need a machine and a monitor and you don't need to be super portable, this is, you know, there are many desktop options. Like you said, Eileen, it's like there are so many different like beautiful monitors that you can buy, and whatever machine that you want to run. If you do want that all in one thing, then that 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is too big for me. I used to have a 17-inch. Remember those?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think I had one of those at work. Yeah, one time I was like, I want the 17.
I eventually recycled mine because it wasn't worth anything. Like it actually, you know, the Apple buyback option. Apple was like, we will responsibly recycle this for you. That's how old it is. But I mean, it used to be like, I loved it because I was like, look at this cool big old laptop, you know, and people would be like, Sarah, that is the largest laptop in the world.
It's huge. Like, it was huge. It was like
so big.
Heavy,
and also,
heavy.
This is also the days of, like heavy and just laptops were not as sleek as they are now. And now I'm like, no, I'm 13-inch. That's what I am. I'm a 13-incher. That's what we do. With
exactly.
with the MacBook Air in my house. But again, everyone's different. So yeah, Philip, let us know if you've already bought something or if you're, you know, still, ruminating over it, let us know. And everyone else, if you have ideas about this or you have questions about, I'm kind of thinking about getting a new thing, whatever, do send it our way and we'll talk about it on a future episode. Feedback at applevisionshow.com. All right, Eileen, I think we are done for episode 62. But
62.
62. It's a good number. Divisible by 2 and 2. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And 2.
Divisible by 2.
Yeah.
We'll be back again next week. And thanks everybody for your patience as our schedules have been a little wonky. It's summer schedules. We all have them. But we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Just a couple of comments that came in chat for if you're all still there. Lee, when you were talking about being unable to call because you left your phone, he mentioned, maybe try duplicating your contacts in Google Contacts. I duplicated it once. Yeah. And like maybe using, I guess, Google Voice or not Google Voice.
I guess
Google
so.
Talk.
Yeah, that would have worked. Yeah, that would have worked.
I think I've duplicated it once and I've never resunk it, so I feel like maybe it was 10 years ago. So it may not be up to date is the problem, but that is a good.
So my particular issue at that point was that, because I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I have done that? Or, why wouldn't I have just like looked up? I didn't have my laptop with me. I had my phone was at the friend's house.
Right.
I was
and
at
you didn't
my
have your
mom's
laptop.
house. She had a
okay.
laptop, but I couldn't
Okay.
get into anything from her laptop because it was like, who are you? Like, what's your Facebook password? I'm like, I don't know. How would I know that? I need my phone.
But yeah, I mean that, if for some reason you could get into your Google account from a different, source, then that might actually, be a good backup. And then Laminar, I don't know what we do with these super stickers, but thank you for the sticker. I don't know
Thank you
where
for the
we do that.
sticker.
That's very cute.
I don't know. They go somewhere.
They go somewhere. I was gonna look it up.
Laminar
and
Rainbow
look it up
is
again.
very generous, by the way.
Aw.
You have been very generous across multiple shows, so we very much
We really
appreciate you.
appreciate
And Easy Montezuma, if you're still with us,
This one?
asking if we recommend watching The Bear. I have friends who are like, can't do it.
Same.
Too much yelling. There's a lot of stress and, time, race against time, that kind of thing. Some people are just like, I don't like the show. I love the show. So your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to recommend a show that you wouldn't like. And it's also pretty R-rated.
It is pretty R-rated. The this is really not a spoiler. It's more about talking about the yelling. But so I'm only up to episode 2, Sarah. But there's the scene where it keeps cutting from the restaurant to the sister's house. It just keeps cutting to different individuals, and the heightened like stress level you feel as they're like trying to like discuss whatever they're discussing, whether it be about the menu or about, their relationship or whatever. I thought the tone and the tempo of that was like brilliant, even though my high blood pressure was going. Well, I was like, oh my God, they're talking so fast and we're cutting from one, crazy situation to another. It's like, to me, that's the brilliance of The Bear, is like, it's able to like keep you at this elevated state, but in a smart way that you're still invested, even though it's like the most stressful thing that you're like, listening to. I love it. Because I also sometimes, if there's too much yelling, it depends on the show. I feel like I'm invested now with these people and I get them like, oh, of course they're going to yell. Of course this is going to happen. So I have no problem with it. But sometimes when I watch another show and I hear yelling, I'm not invested with those people. And I'm just like, okay, I'm out. I can't deal.
Yeah.
Or the story isn't that great.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I tell people all the time, like, I love reality TV because it's just a bunch of people yelling at each
Yeah.
other. And
Sometimes
they're
if you like
they're
it.
like, why would you want that? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want that in my life.
Yeah.
There's some funny outlet that I get from it where I'm like, it's soothing in a weird way. I don't know why. But the bear is maybe scratching that same itch. Okay, well, it is time for me to take the pup out. You say
Let
hi to
me-
Seven the dog.
I will. Let me end the stream. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a good week. Talk to you guys next week.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.